I'm going to start with a question for the audience. How many of you have heard about or heard a woman complain about her heels with a show of hands? Okay, a good amount of you guys. We'll start there. So women have always been conditioned to accept pain as the price of elegance, especially when it comes to high heels. And my question is, why hasn't the standard changed? I'm Maritza, founder and designer behind Maritza Marie, and we're redefining footwear and what it should feel like without compromising on design, craftsmanship, or experience. The problem, so there's always been a trade-off between style and comfort, and women are choosing between two extremes. So it's either beautiful shoes that hurt or comfortable options that don't align with luxury identity. And despite how obvious the gap is, there's no true brands that are speaking to the modern luxury consumer. Market overview. The U.S. women's luxury footwear market is valued at $4 billion. If we go in a little deeper, the comfort-conscious buyer is about $1.2 billion. And if we just took about 1 to 3% of that market share over the next 5 years, that's a $25 to $35 million amount that we could capture. Our mission is to eliminate discomfort, both in what you wear and how you feel. Heels were designed to make women feel powerful, and somewhere along the way, they started doing the exact opposite. We're here to fix that. How are we doing that? So design first. We work with experienced artisans and collaborative factories, and we manufacture in Europe. Europe because it's an ecosystem that's built around factories. Within 2 hours, we have everything we need. We can capture the sole factory, the heel factory, the leathers goods factory, and manufacturing. Comfort first. There's multiple levels of comfort that are added to the shoes, and we change the design and the structure around the shoes to make them more comfortable. And then looking at longevity, the modern consumer wants longevity and something that's sustainable for the future. Our core customer, the good thing is our core customer is already out there. She's a high-achieving, high-value woman who appreciates having a good brand that lasts a lifetime or a long time. And she's not wearing heels just for the occasion. She's wearing it for her identity. It's part of her DNA. Our business model. So unit economics, the cost per pair is about $130 with the shipping. And then we're looking at a margin of about markup of about 230 to 280%. It's about a $475 retail. So good margins there. Strategy-wise, online sales first, direct to consumer. We're building that audience. The website's live now. It's maritzamarie.com. You can buy shoes. And secondary, we're going into boutiques and then corporate partnerships. So if you think of women's sports teams or areas where very women-centric groups, that's where we're targeting. A little bit about me. I say I like to dream in color and think in numbers. I'm very analytical and very creative. I've had 15 years of corporate experience, mainly in tech and robotics. So the DNA of the brand is built in innovation. And then when you think about my background here, I started at Florida State in design, fashion design. I actually ended up with a business degree. I've worked for my friend's brand. We've done everything from runway shows to launching at New York Fashion Week. This is the intersection of everything I am. So it's business, it's innovation, it's fashion. The start of my company. So back in 2020, before we knew the pandemic would happen, I started the idea for the brand. 3 months later, the pandemic happened. I took a pause in the company. Obviously, people weren't wearing heels as much. People weren't going out as much. And so then I started back up with manufacturing and finding a partner in 2023. This has been 2 rounds of samples, multiple prototypes to get it right. And we've just launched in February of 2026. This is a little bit of an example of how the design process works. So everything from the visuals of the sketches to going into illustrations, technical drawings. We do fit testing, and then we go into molds, and then down to final production, and then to the actual heel. A little bit about performance. So we've had consistent sales month over month, just about 2,000 in sales so far. And this next quarter is really about validating the product. So it's about making sure that we have the right product and it's built for the modern consumer that we're looking for. In line with that, I received our first grant. It's an education grant from 210 Footwear Foundation. It's one of the most respected nonprofit foundations in the U.S. And that's another big achievement for us. So this quarter, we're building a digital marketing strategy that evolves with our growth. I have done all this with zero marketing dollars so far. It's just been word of mouth and friends of friends. And so this quarter is focused on the digital marketing strategy, expanding into select boutiques and starting those conversations. The timeline for boutiques, they're looking for fall right now. So it's really a long-term approach with that. And then leading with founder-driven storytelling and talking about my brand. The consumer today wants more than just a product. They want a story. And so it's a lot of storytelling and speaking about why we created this brand in the first place. Investing in deeper research, I have an award-winning brand creative helping me with a strategy to release to the public to get more data. We know that the market shows that people want comfortable high heels, but more data is essential for driving our product. A little bit of kind of projected revenue. The luxury market is definitely a tougher market to break into, but with that said, there is a huge demand for comfortable high heels. Initial kind of funding strategy, looking at just initial inventory of about $30K to fund the first year. And this is with very little marketing dollars. The biggest thing that's going to drive the company for the next few years is putting more into the marketing and then to the innovation. And then we'll kind of go into the big grand vision of the company. The big vision is to build the world's first luxury footwear house with in-house innovation across materials, design, and research and development. And that would include everything from in-house labs to testing IP, to developing partnerships, to prototyping and the core operations. And so with that said, our biggest ask is looking for strategic partners, people who want to see this vision through, and future investors of the company. And then lastly, I'll give you guys all the ways to stay connected with me. There you go.
Go ahead,
Sure.
Chris. Yeah.
Well, good job. How many times have you pitched this before?
This is like the second true
Okay.
pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough, right? Like, I think one of the most important elements of giving a pitch that like really conveys a deep understanding is you want to like tell me a story, right? It's almost like if someone that you were friends with said to you, "What are you working on? Like, tell me about that," right? And there's this like comfort and flow of being able to just tell that story for 6 minutes. That tells me this is someone who just knows this business inside and out, and they're giving me the highlights, right? So one thing and as you get further along and you give it more, like, don't give me the like, and now we're moving on to this section, and or read me the bullet points from the slide, right? Like, I want you to kind of sit here and think of what behind you is just like some visual representation of what you're about to talk about, but just tell me the story for 6 minutes or whatever that is. There's something in that presentation style that exudes expertise in there, because I don't wear heels, right? And so I wouldn't be able to discern what is or is not true, right? So I think that's just like a stylistic, like aspire to that point where you can just tell it at that level. For me, I think one of the questions that I have is like, I would love, assuming that you're going to sit across from at least half of people, investors are going to be men, right? Like, contextualize what $475 means in this world. Like, I have no idea if we're talking like, that's like super high luxury or attainable luxury, right? Maybe is the classification, or is that normal? I mean, I have no frame of reference.
Luxury, so it's right before like high-end luxury, but.
Yeah. That was part for me to like my first thought when you said 475. I'm like, I don't know. That sounds expensive, but I don't know if that's somewhat, if it is or isn't, right? I guess the last part I would love to like. My understanding, which is relatively limited on consumer product and branding, is like, there's a little bit of extra that goes into the quality and a whole bunch that goes into creating a perception around there. And that's where the margin from like these LVMH and all these people, like that's what they're amazing at. Like, how do you come out with a new brand? Like, who has the expertise, or maybe walk me through that? Because I think to get someone to buy some brand they've never heard of that maybe compares price point with something that's, I would assume that shoes, like many other things in fashion, are somewhat of a symbol of like, you buy them as much, you pay $500 for them as much because people know they cost $500, right? like how do you create that brand? How do you create that experience, and who has that within? Is that something you've done in the past?
Yeah, so it's storytelling. It goes back to that. It's about the things that we're trying to, or my company is trying to storytell around is the quality, the craftsmanship. The shoes are handmade in Portugal, and so it's telling that story of the Portugal, but it's also telling that story of the factories and the family-owned business, and the story of innovation and just changing the narrative around shoes and making people fall in love with heels again. But yes, it's a complex little creature in itself. But yes, it's a lot of storytelling to really evoke that emotion to get people to buy.
One small nitpick on the chart, it was dollars, but there weren't dollar signs next to it. So my first thought was it was units.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, wow, she shipped a lot of units,
Me too,
right?
yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah. So anyways, just for my own perspective, yeah.
Yeah, it's same here, no doubt. Yeah, a couple of points I wanted to make for you and for everyone out there in the universe. Like this visual look and feel is anyone selling to a consumer should be able to now create high quality look and feel slides. Like this is kind of the standard, I think now. Like I'm seeing software pitches and app pitches, everything. It's like the aesthetic is awesome, and you need to do that, right? So good job on that. I would say like everyone should use AI as much as possible or whatever they need. The core customer, I would move up a bit. Okay. That really lets me lock in on what we're doing. And I wouldn't do it with like $475 a pair, but it's your choice on how to do that. I felt like the way you described the core customer was actually very helpful. I would just move that up. I would move yourself up. I think I would just go there first. This is my background. I'm a little bit of an engineering nerd, robotics, whatever it is, and just be like, that's interesting. I do have weirdly like a lifetime, maybe 2 lifetimes ago, 20 years ago, I did a lot of work in this space, investing and helping build out a platform. And so like I have a bias to like what I want to hear about this, and it's more operational than it is design aesthetic. So it's like, let the look and feel tell the story and get your credibility established as I know what to make. I know how to make this look right. Okay. And I would say like, you're probably not going to have like a Chris Langford, like home technology person listening to your pitches. You got to get this thing dialed in to the 5 or 6 points that every apparel and or footwear investor like already knows about, right? Which is like, where's this getting made? Why in Portugal? Have you sourced the relationships? Like you just got to get there faster, I think, in your 10 minutes, right? So if you're out in Los Angeles, Southern California, at a meet and greet, startup-y incubator, let's find some cool brands, you're going to have to nail that dive like super quick, because that's how these pitches are being delivered. And I'm sure it's even more aggressive now with how global supply chains are impacting cost structures and what have you. Yeah, sales units versus dollars confused me. Sorry, what else? Oh, voice of customer. Like, I think it would be super helpful to just say like here's a quote, or here's 10 quotes. I don't know, like target market, this is the cohort I'm looking for, and these women have worn these shoes, and this is what they think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but I would just get more into the business side of it, because it's a business pitch. Yeah. And you don't have to overtell the story about, you know, this is what it's going to look and feel like. You just have to show that. And then I think that translates a lot better, but that's just my bias. I have more of the storytelling on operations and your operational edge, and less of the like, I'm building a lifestyle brand or whatever it is. Like, I think the industry knows how that play goes. So, yeah.
That's helpful, because I think it's interesting, because I'm like thinking about different audiences I'm pitching to. There's such a core element between the design and the the design, the comfort, so that's why I would play it on the design. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
What does your gut tell you at this point? Like, do you want to be more of an operator? Or do you want to be more of a brand visionary? I think that's an open question for you when you're building whatever you want to call it, this credibility, and that goes for everyone pitching. Like I said it earlier, like, are you a visionary or are you an operator? What's your edge, right? You got to figure out, where is my edge and how am I going to press on that edge in this 10-minute meeting so I can get the 2-hour conversation.
The interesting thing is, I think I kind of good in both, so I don't know how to answer that question.
You can say that way too, but you definitely need to be clear about it. Okay. And just say it up front, like, I am a great balance between engineering, robotics nerd, and you did hit it verbally, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any questions from the audience? Do we have more time, or I don't know?
About 60 seconds.
60 seconds. One question from the audience. Come on, it's a shoe company. We've never seen a shoe company before.
Yes.
Go for it.
Well, it's a question to what you just spoke about from Is it scary, and should they bring someone on to be that second face? Like, obviously, you made the comment here. Hey, are you the scientist, or are you the operations? You asked her, are you the visionary? Like, you as the backer, are you looking for the leaders to then have that face if they're staying in one lane, so that there's more credibility?
Yeah, I'm looking for like someone who knows what they're good at and what they're not good at, and being very self-aware of that. And that's a lot of work. That takes work. Like, that takes years for most entrepreneurs to figure that out. I still feel like I'm figuring it out at 54 years old as an investor, but yeah.
Like of bringing the two people I'd probably want, and this is like, I'd want like a footwear engineer, someone who understands the true construction of the shoes, and then I'd want almost like an architect or a designer that understands like the geometry behind it, because I want to change the shape of footwear ultimately. And feet are not going to change. So I have to change a couple of the design elements to do that. So I hope that
That helps, yeah.
gives you some direction. And that's
One more quick one.
I like this image, design in Charlotte. Do you think about making Charlotte part of your brand?
I was, and then I took that off. So that is actually a sample pair that I actually had constructed, but I took it off. Yeah, it's vintage. I only have one pair of those, so they're at my house. But yeah, they do all say handcrafted in Portugal. Yeah. And the interesting thing on that is, talking to boutiques, everyone asks if I'm in New York. Like, that's the common question. So I think there's something to play on that, but it might be like made in the Carolinas. It might be something more along those lines.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.